It's no secret, countless thoughts cross our minds on any given day. Some are simple, but others may be deeper and sometimes dark.
Yeah, and whether it's dealing with a personal struggle, with pain, loss, or even just processing a steady stream of bad news, how can we shift our perspective and really find positivity and hope? Author and pastor Jesse Bradley is here to discuss his new book just about that idea, The Power of the Second Thought, and how the concept actually changed his life. Pastor Bradley, I want to start there with the basics. What is a second thought, and why do you say it changed your life?
Thank you so much, Morgan. The power of the second thought is a habit that we can all cultivate, a daily habit. And it has three parts. First, recognize your first thoughts. We all have thousands of first thoughts every day. Our minds are active, but the National Science Foundation says most of the first thoughts are not helpful. So think about what you're thinking about. And then second, reject the negative thoughts. You say, not in my house. I call these hope thieves. They could be rewinding old tapes that bring guilt and shame. You reject those. You wouldn't let a hope thief come into your house and then steal your stuff. You wouldn't say, sit down for a meal, spend the night. You'd say, get out of my house. So you need to be proactive. Don't harbor, believe, entertain those second thoughts that are coming in that are negative, but instead you're going to replace it. And that replacement is an intentional thought, a go-to thought. Perfect love drives out fear. That kind of thought when you feel anxious. And that's the work we can do, kind of like air traffic controller, which thoughts are going to land.
I wonder, of course, you wrote a whole book on this topic, right? How did you discover and cultivate the power of what you call second thought in your own life?
Zinkley, it came at my lowest point. I didn't discover hope until I lost it. And I was a professional soccer goalkeeper after graduating from Dartmouth, played in Scotland, Zimbabwe, and then I had a tragic illness. And I was fighting for my life for 1 year, and it took 10 years to fully recover. I was overwhelmed. It was brutal. And I just didn't feel like I had the tools or the roadmap. You know, I was in crisis mode. Now I can call it the power of the second thought. But at the time, I was just trying to really, it felt like a battle. In Nets, I was a goalkeeper on the field, but this is like goalkeeper mode in my mind, and just trying to protect my mind from going into a ditch with anxiety, despair. My life will never get better. And it was practical. It was redemptive. It was healing. And habits are powerful. What we can cultivate, it opens the door for so much positivity when our mind is right.
I love what you said about habits. And the truth is, you know, this is hard. I mean, this is hard work for a lot of people. I think about the moments in my life that have been the hardest. And there were the moments when I didn't have hope, when I felt this sort of hopelessness about myself or my future. And that's hard, right? That can feel so isolating. So how do you sort of acknowledge the negative thought without letting it take over your thoughts?
That's right. Habits take time to develop, and you might not feel like you have it down right away. I like to think of 4 stages. First, you don't even know about the habit. You don't even know about the power of the second thought. And then second, you start to become aware of it, but it's difficult to do. And you don't feel like you're doing it that well. But then with persistence and time and practice, you start to focus on it and you see the results. You see the fruit, and then it becomes natural. You know, as a goalie, I didn't know how to catch a ball. Then my coach said, catch it with a W. So I became aware how to catch, but I couldn't really do it well. Then I had to focus during the game, but I was thinking W, 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 and that doesn't work as a goalie. So eventually it becomes natural, and I dive to the upper corner with the W, and I catch it without even thinking about the W. And these habits, they start to cultivate these, and they just become natural.
And of course, the negative thoughts are not just in our mind, right? So how do we shut out outside negativity, whether it's people, social media, or just the media we consume?
That's right. Pay attention to the different sources in your life. Make sure you're around people who bring out the best in you. And if someone's bringing a lot of toxicity, you need to set limits and set boundaries. When you're on social media, it's good to remember your purpose, because it can be like a vortex, and a couple hours later, you're like, what did I watch? I think that polluted my mind. So be realistic about your limits emotionally. We all have those, and making good choices with our thoughts leads to every other part in our lives.
I love that. There's hope in every other part of your life. That's great.
Yeah, author and pastor Jesse Bradley, thank you so much.
We appreciate it. And you're watching NBC News Daily.